calling this meeting of the City Council to order, and I invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Good evening. The next agenda item is public comment. Anybody wishing to make a public comment? Good evening. You're welcome to come forward. You can stand where you are, and if
I just want to comment on some decision that was made on my last meeting.
and if you would identify yourself for the record.
David LaValle. I live on Spruce Street.
Okay.
Okay. I saw the article that was written up in the newspaper regarding the decisions on Spruce Street, and I don't know whether or not that had been finalized. And I talked with Ms. Bissett about it, and I was a little dismayed at the recommendation that the south end of Spruce Street be made two-way, while the rest of it remains a one-way street. And the reason I would like to state that is because I would assume that the reason it was made one way to begin with is the fact that the street is rather narrow and it doesn't facilitate two-way traffic safely. And I've got some printouts with satellite imagery.
May I interrupt you for just a moment? We have an agenda item to do a second reading on the Spruce Street ordinance. Okay. So you're welcome to give your whole presentation here, but we'll be having discussion and taking public comment in probably about 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay.
So if you don't mind hanging around, that would be a wonderful time.
The agenda, I will do so.
Okay, thanks. It shouldn't be too long, I hope. Okay. Next up is, if there's no more public comment, is the mayor's report. And this will be fairly brief because I'd like to come back to you on one of these items. What I wanted to make the council aware of is that the governor has asked municipalities, organizations throughout the state to participate together to voluntarily make climate action pledges. And he is looking to have those collected by November 8th. I would like for us to give some consideration to that. Recently, about a week or so ago, the state and the Energy Action Network came out with a tool that can be used to come up with pledges and track them. But I just last week I just didn't have the bandwidth to get into it to understand it better. So here was my thought. Unless the council tonight overwhelmingly says wrong direction, don't go there, what I'd like to do is ask if any other council members are interested in exploring this with me. I would want to connect with staff just to have a conversation about what might be doable or not doable, and then bring it back to a future council meeting. Since the November 8th deadline for pledges is before the November council meeting, what I had thought was I think we'll have to do a special meeting. We talked about doing a hearing to get public comment on the issues around the clerk position being elected or appointed. So I'd like to schedule that at some point within the next couple of weeks and then tag on to that the council review of what we might propose for a climate action pledge. Does that sound reasonable to folks?
Yes.
So let me know if you have an interest in sitting down with me. I don't think it will take a long time. I think it's pretty simple and straightforward. Okay. And then I'll also just note, because it's on the agenda, there's a reference to the Governor's Climate Action Commission. That's related, but it's actually a bit separate from the Climate Action Pledge work that's taking place. This is an appointed commission that will be meeting over the course of the coming year to review and make recommendations to the governor about how to meet Vermont's energy goals, and also taking it with a view as how policy can positively impact energy and economy at the same time. We did have a forum hosted here, one of 4 forums throughout the state was hosted here in City Hall last week. Had about 70, 80 or so people show up for it. So it was nice to be able to use City Hall. We got a lot of comments because people showed up to the forum, not only on climate, but also really appreciated the space and having an event like this in St. Albans. Next up, if there are no further questions on that, this is a bit of an easier one. It's the Button Up campaign. And every year for the last several years, climate energy, energy committees, and various energy organizations, agencies have promoted something called the Button Up campaign. It comes this time of the year because the design is to help businesses and residents take steps in order to button up, to make, for example, homes or buildings more weather-tight for the winter months. They have asked communities to consider joining in on the Button Up campaign. It's pretty simple and straightforward. If we were to sign up as a participant, we would agree to have 2 events, which I would suggest would be one in which we'd invite Efficiency Vermont to do a button-up workshop for community members, and then something along the lines of posting tips that they've already prepared on our website. If that's amenable to folks, I'll sign us up and I'll take on the organization for the workshop. I think it coincides nicely with our council objective to improve the quality of housing in Vermont. In St. Albans, we have, as you well know, lots of older housing stock, so lots of opportunity to make sometimes some very simple steps in order to be more energy efficient, save dollars in energy. Take any comments if anyone has anything to say on that. Okay. Seeing none, let's move on to agenda item number 4, a request for extraterritorial water and wastewater allocation. This is up for discussion and vote. It is in your packet.
Madam Mayor, I will have to excuse myself from this because my father and my brother were there.
Okay. And we still have enough for our quorum. So, Fieldstone Land Consultants is the applicant. Do you want to present? We've had a chance to review it.
I've reviewed it. It seems pretty straightforward. I think all the relevant questions have been answered in the application.
Any questions from the council?
No, it seems straightforward.
No, I agree. Okay, I'll entertain a motion
So moved.
to adopt,
The
approve.
wastewater allocation application for Fieldstone.
Land consultants. Second?
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
For the minutes, let's just tweak the motion to be for St. Albans Glass. Fieldstone's the consultant.
Okay, so you agree to the amendment?
Yes. And a second.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And we have 1 recusal. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now we are on to the second reading regarding amendments to the ordinances around Spruce Street. So hang on just a sec, and we'll just to tee this up. No decision was made at the last council meeting. It was a first reading. It's wonderful when we have a first reading, the word gets out, and then we get feedback. So I'm glad that we've got some feedback this evening. But we'll start with Chip to tee things up.
Since we might be the only one speaking on this topic, could I invite Mr. LaValle to come to the...
Sure.
You can sit up here as well.
Got lots of room tonight.
Lots of room. The first ordinance amendment we're proposing is second reading, like you said. It accomplishes 2 things. First of all, it would actually put in the ordinances that no truck sign, that no through truck sign that exists on the street right now, about 120 feet in. But actually, that rule was not in the ordinances, and we discovered that. So that would put that no through trucks past this point, past the 120 feet from Lake Street in the ordinances. And the other one is, would change the northbound one-way traffic rule based on input we've heard from some residents on Spruce Street, but obviously there are different viewpoints here tonight, that it would be two-way within that 120-foot span off of Lake Street, because there were people who didn't want everyone who lived at that apartment complex on Lake Street to always have to go down Spruce Street if they really wanted to get to Lake. So the way it had been described in the past is that it would actually reduce traffic on Spruce if the people in that apartment complex could go straight to Lake within that first stretch of Spruce. So that's why that rule was proposed.
Thanks. Any questions for Chip at this point? Okay. And now, please continue, and I'd love to see your...
One thing I would like to add is a comment regarding what you said about reducing the traffic. I live at the other end of Spruce Street, and the reduction of traffic, if there was some way of keeping people from coming in from LaSalle and going the wrong way down Spruce Street, that hasn't really been addressed. And so a reduction of traffic, because people come in there down that way the wrong way all the time that live on the street. So I really don't think that that would affect that at all. The main point I wanted to make was that this street being one way to begin with, I would imagine that the original ordinance was written because it was a narrow street and it's not safe to have two-way traffic. And by the picture that I have here, the satellite imagery, it's not any wider at that first 120 feet. In fact, there is a vehicle parked in the satellite photo across from the entrance to that apartment building. So that makes it even narrower than necessary. And that by making that portion two-way street increases danger. What's the word I'm looking for? The idea of making it two-way would benefit the beverage mart and the residents in that apartment building for convenience at the expense of safety. And that is my main concern. I would strongly urge to reconsider the idea of the two-way, because safety, that street is not wide enough for... To give you an example, a few years ago, my wife was driving our car, coming down Lake Street. We put our directionals on to turn right onto Spruce. There was a vehicle had backed out of the parking lot for this beverage mart and was right in the middle of the street. We could not enter the street. A vehicle behind us the driver wasn't paying attention and ran into our bumper, did some damage to our car. Had this person coming out of Spruce Street observed the ordinance as it was still written at the time and gone the correct direction, that accident never would have occurred. If the street was to return back to just being one way the entire direction, I believe that safety would increase. If people knew they could not exit the street at night.
Okay, thank you. Questions? And, yeah.
Chip, how, compared to other streets versus, I mean, it's got the right-of-way width for two vehicles, right?
I think so. I wasn't around, and we don't have any records of when Spruce Street was made one way. It might be, we have to look again at the street. We could go take a look at the actual width of the street itself. I don't see it widening it, no matter what the city's right of way is. It might have been made one way so that it was easier for people to park on one side of the street, and not have to deal with two-way traffic. Maybe it was because I don't think the street's all that narrow compared to others, but if that's a concern of the council, it's certainly something staff can look at. We can wait on this proposal if you wish for us to go and take a look at that issue.
I To me, I mean, I don't live on that street, but if you're gonna make everyone that pulls in the beverage mart and that apartment complex head down, I think, to me, it's just gonna be a lot of complaints, especially at the other end and on LaSalle Street, because that, I mean, that's gonna turn into, there's a lot of people that pull in the beverage mart right there. I mean, I suppose they could then pull into the bottle redemption and pop back out on the lake, but.
Well, I wonder if also one of the things we might be able to do is see if we can do things to that southern end of Spruce Street, that if it were to be, I mean, it is being used as two-way now, as Mr. LaValle describes. People are just kind of heading south on it at that little end, no matter what the rule is. If we were to codify that behavior in the ordinances, we could take a look at some things we might be able to do with the street to make sure that two-way traffic would be safe at that end, if it's possible.
I know what, I complained about that, pulling onto South Elm a few years ago. And basically what Alan did was put double yellow lines somewhere near the middle, and that kind of kept people pushed over.
Yeah.
When David and I spoke, one thing that did come up was possibly making, and I sent you an email yesterday about that, was making at his end of Spruce Street, which is on the corner of LaSalle, making a line, stop, and then arrows, one going to the right, one going to the left. So that if someone coming down LaSalle Street goes to turn in there, whoops, the arrows are pointing out. Just a thought, but that might be a quick, easy solution to at least that end. The other end, I think if you divide it off the street, again with street lines, so that when they back out, if we kept it the same way, the two-way at that point, when they back out, they have to back out more in that opposite lane and then get ready to pull out. That may be an easier solution all the way around.
So I'm hearing that there are concerns about sending everyone from the beverage mart and the apartment complex, forcing everyone to go north, but there's also a concern about that end of the street being safe if it's two-way. So staff will look into if we can make it safer.
I'm going to totally agree with you, especially in the winter, when there's a giant pile of snow right there in the corner and no one can see anything. People coming off that street, they creep way out. So, I mean, I definitely understand the safety concern.
And with that pile of snow, it makes it even narrower.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too.
Chip, does anybody look to make it a one-way south?
Back when Tammy DeFranco was the alderperson, this came up, it was 2 years ago, and I spoke with her and one of the neighbors around the middle of the street, and this came up, should it be one-way south, should it be two-way, and what those two said is that they talked to some other neighbors, and that the folks they talked to said they prefer that it went one-way, stay one-way north. But we can look at it again.
I personally live at the corner of Spruce and LaSalle. And yes, I find it an inconvenience when I'm coming from the north, Elm, to have to go all the way down the lake, turn, and then come up Spruce when I live right there at the corner. It would be so easy to just pull in from LaSalle. However, I'm willing to sacrifice my convenience for the safety.
Why don't we keep working on it?
Yep.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to have you join us. Okay. Let's see. Now what? We have got parking on Lake Street. Okay. Another. Agenda item number 6. Okay. Consider adoption of proposed amendments to city ordinances. Proposed ordinance amendments concerning parking on Lake Street. Second reading?
Yes.
Okay.
This would allow parking on the southern side of Lake Street, west of Edward Street, where we were going to put a bike lane, but we decided not to.
Any questions from the council? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve the amendments to the ordinance for parking on Lake Street.
Second. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. You too? Jeff?
Yep.
Okay, motion carries. Next up, we've got a request to authorize borrowing of up to $70,000 for a groomer at Hardeck to be serviced by Hardeck Revenues. Don has presented us with some information. Anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think it's all in the packet.
Okay. Questions from the council?
So my question's going to be,
I can ask about the gear ratio.
what? No, I'm not going to ratio. So I guess my question is, it seemed like in the packet it said that someone would buy a $70,000 groomer, but it'd be utilized a lot more and for a lot longer. And I guess I was wondering why we need such a expensive groomer if we're only going to use it 5 hours a week. And for 70 grand, I mean, is there any way Bass Rail Trail goes right here? Is there any way Bass, we can contract out with Bass or something to have them come? I just don't know. It just seems like a lot of money.
So there's a couple of pieces to that. You know, there's the specifics of it. And I think the Hardeck board's take is they've always bought, you know, the analogy of very, very used cars because of their business status. They could never qualify for a loan. And now that they can qualify for a loan, access the city's borrowing capacity, they think that a more prudent use of funds, instead of paying 20 for something that's going to have to be replaced every couple of years, they'd rather finance something for up to 70. And I guess I kind of feel like that's exactly why we have formed this relationship. And to me, it kind of goes to the heart of the relationship between the Hardeck board and the city. You know, that they're raising the money and they're coming forth and saying, let's all work together. I don't really feel like we want to be in a position of asking the same kind of questions that we might have a department head, you know, because it's a different relationship. They're bringing a lot more to the table, you know.
So the city taxpayers are not on the hook for this?
City taxpayers are ultimately on the hook, and if they couldn't service the debt, you know, we'd sell it, you know, and if right out of the gate, the first thing we did together, they couldn't service the debt, that would, you know, raise a whole bunch of questions about the relationship. So, you know, it's really analogous to, in a lot of ways, I think, to the Rotary fountain, where we're ultimately on, but we haven't put a penny on towards it.
So I know we were above beyond confident that the Rotary would pay that. Are we that confident that the Hardeck board in 5 years is going to be as strong as it is now and they're going to be able to service that debt?
I think we've got no reason not to be confident in them.
Okay.
And the relative level of risk compared to the relative level of reward seems like it's a prudent decision, because part of what we're trying to do is have a bit of a splash and show the power of the city and the Hardeck board working together, playing to each of our strengths.
Yeah.
You know, 70 grand, that's nothing for us, you know, but it's a big lift for them. Raising the 8 or 9 annually to service that debt is nothing for them. You know,
This isn't a Cadillac groomer. We're talking about
it's used.
a used, but in good condition, right?
Yeah. I'm just, there's a lot of aspirations up there, I guess is what, you know, I think of it as our project here, where sometimes we can't do everything we want because we need this grant money, we need to get this first. And I mean, they want to put a great building up there, and you know, they want to make it top of the line, and I want to do that too. And I want to make sure, you know, that gets done, but I also don't want that to fall back on us.
they're good questions to ask, and I don't mean to minimize them. of all the things that give me pause about things, this isn't one of them. Worst case scenario, we can sell the thing, we can, figure out other revenue options. An annual debt service nut of 10 grand. And the reality is, if we're going to deliver the programs and the access to the resource that the public expects, we've got to do something. And I tend to agree with their argument, is it makes much more sense to finance a decent machine if you can. If they can't raise the annual debt service on a groomer, we've got bigger problems in the groomer.
Now, is there, I know that thing sits outside all the time. Is there a new building in the house? Maybe this is getting off track, but going to be shelter that thing?
I don't know. I can have to track it down for you.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay. Take a motion?
I move to approve the borrowing up to $70,000 for a groomer at Hardag to be serviced by the Hardag revenues.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Opposing? Motion carries. Okay. Other business. Does anybody have other business? Oh, you have a list.
I have a list. So I can't get my Wi-Fi to work in this room for some reason now, so neither one of those ones over there pop up. So that's just...
Is that the first thing on your list?
That was the last thing. That's the easiest thing.
Kristen can probably fix that for you before you go on. Actually, give her your iPad while you're talking.
Well, it'll be too late then.
She shut it off when you said that.
Tracks on Aldous Street. Have we got anywhere with trying to repair some of those or make them so?
Co-op's concerned about it, we're concerned about it, the railroad's concerned about it. We're getting somewhere, it's a $300,000 repair.
Yeah. I know it's not a cheap repair. I know that.
So we've gotten somewhere, we haven't got it across the finish line. We're not going to, I think, get it done before the snow flies.
No.
But we've got the parties to the table and
it's on the radar.
consensus that it's a problem.
It's on the radar.
Yeah.
Are we filling potholes before winter? And I asked that because going north on North Elm Street, but on the south side of the railroad tracks, there was a big, it looked like they had a water main break or something there at one point, and then right in the middle of that, the asphalt's starting to go away, and I can already know by springtime that is going to be a ginormous hole.
Where is it? Northtown?
North Elm, yeah, the little patch that's been fixed. Yeah.
So it just needs to be touched up again?
It's like a crescent shape.
Huh?
It's all gone, yeah. So if not, if we can take the old groomer and put it in the hole, and it'll be able to make it nice and smooth.
So how are your dips coming? Are they there yet?
No, dips are not there. I do want to say the other day I was in the zoning office, and I want to give kudos to Dave Southwick. Super helpful. If he didn't know something, he knew where to find the regs. So kudos to Dave. I also want to say that this spring I was in there, and I kind of think it's ridiculous that if you're replacing a black asphalt shingle roof with the black asphalt shingles, that you need to wait 15 days. Because a lot of the times people find out the roof is bad when it's raining, and if you get caught in a stretch of rain, it really stinks. You gotta wait 15 days, meanwhile the inside of your house is getting soaking wet. So you're supposed to wait until the appeal period. If you're not changing anything and you're going right with what was on there, I don't see why someone would want to appeal that. If you're still within the regs,
You don't have to wait.
You don't have to, but someone could say, your neighbor could come over and say, appeal it, and then Dave's going to make you stop. So anyway, I don't know if there's a way around that or not. And the other day, last Monday of the month, I was here for a DRB meeting, and I was actually sitting out there thinking to myself as I was watching the chair, Megan Bliss, run the meeting, how blank this wall is. It's so blank that you stop paying attention to the meeting and you just stare at that wall and you're like, oh my God, that's just a ginormous wall with nothing on it. And I don't know if we could get like John Young to do his version of this.
We're all over this. We got
Okay.
4 photos that have been selected. and-
Perfect. I thought maybe a logo or something or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I'm good.
It's printed how we
Can't take that? Anybody else? Mike?
Liz, I wanted to just thank you, Chip and Alan, for coming up to Driscoll Drive. I know that people really appreciated the conversation that we had regarding the green space in the middle of the loop, and I wanted to see if there was any update on whether we were going to make progress on that. I know that there seemed to be some consensus there about how to address some of the concerns that people have raised about, especially the lilacs and just maintenance moving forward. And I really appreciate you all coming up on it, even spending some time up in Woodford.
Yeah, that was a good meeting. We had about, what'd you say, 30 or so?
Yeah, it was pretty
neighbors.
well attended.
It was a really great meeting. So thanks to the neighbors who are so interested, engaged. So I think a couple of things. It was great. People were in alignment about how much they wanted or did not want to see, and we did commit to bringing that forward at a council meeting to have it documented for the record. So what I had actually been thinking, because I didn't get to it, was to write up some notes and bring that to the next council meeting for the record. But in the meantime, for the record tonight, let's note that we had this discussion, and I don't know if there are any updates. I think some trees would have come down.
I believe that tree came down.
One tree, okay.
That
was in the
There's only complaint about one tree, right?
Right, and then, it was one
We're
tree.
going to replace it in the spring.
And then also pointing to the lilacs that are not particularly healthy. We had planted lilacs a couple of years ago. So I'd like to see something that is a little more robust to help fill in that particular area. And then also, thanking the neighbors who are taking time out of their schedules to maintain that median area and keep it looking nice. And we encourage them also when they do need help to reach out. So if something needs to be hauled away, we're here. We appreciate their help and also want to be accessible as they need us. Anything else?
I think that was it. Disease tree gone, lilac, future, maintenance stuff, you covered it. Thank you very much.
Great. Good. Marie?
We're still having problems with a lot of people parking on the green space on our street. And it was kind of undoing a lot of what the city's worked so hard to accomplish in those areas. So I don't know if maybe police department maybe can control a little more and start ticketing or what. I mean, not that I hate to see anybody get a ticket, but there was a lot of work and time put into that project, and we're noticing it all the time. We'll drive down the street and it's on the green space, and I mean on the green space. So just
Do you have my cell? So,
think so, or I have an email.
yeah. So snap a photo
Okay.
and text me or email me.
Okay.
And if it's something that's, you see it and we can get out there, then I can get the parking enforcement officer to get out there pretty quickly.
Okay. Yeah.
That kind of eyes and ears on the ground is really helpful for us, but, so.
Yeah.
So North Allen is where you're seeing it?
North Allen, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
because they can't park on the street, probably, they're awful.
It's further down.
Yeah.
Further
Well,
down.
no, actually, one of them is not much before that hole. And just another comment regarding green space. We had an awful time in our area with the grass coming up, and Alan was very proactive in helping us out with that. He did an awesome job, he and his crew, and I just want to, make note of that and make that known that we appreciate what he does and what all the city workers do. They really did a great job.
Getting it to grow, you mean, is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there were some issues there, but between what we did to help it and he came along on a Sunday afternoon with a bucket loader full of dirt for the neighbor's property. I mean, that to me spoke volumes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's a good man.
He is.
Do we know how close we are to being done all these sidewalk projects? I know the top of Lower Walden still being done, and
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna be playing it out and for as long as we can.
right into November.
Yeah,
Are there any more streets that need to be done, like haven't been started, or?
I think so. Marty's closer with that than I am, but I think it's cleaning up. I don't think we're starting any new projects.
Okay.
It's just finishing up.
It's the Guy Circle looks great, Bowles Lane, Edward, all
Yeah.
the ones I can think of, they all look great.
Is Stowell all done now too?
Yep.
I know they,
Yeah.
I
I
haven't.
haven't seen it lately, but they done the finished grading and planting and everything.
Yeah, I think I drove by today, I think it has green stuff sprayed on it.
Yeah.
All
New
right.
stuff doesn't grow as well as Allen's method.
Does that to lay that mesh stuff down?
Yeah, but Allen's method is like the cat's meow. You just
Been
you
doing
can't
it.
afford that everywhere, you know, so. Hydro seed, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, anything else? All right, in that case, let's move on to item number 11.
Approve warrants, I move to approve warrants of 9/22.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion, motion carries.
Move to approve warrants 12/6, or 10/6, sorry.
Seconded. Okay.
Not even a 12 on there.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye. And it doesn't sound like anyone's opposed or abstaining. Motion carries. How about minutes?
Move to approve minutes for 9/11.
Take a second.
I'll second.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed, abstaining? Motion carries. How about a motion to adjourn at 7:08?
Move to adjourn at 7:08, record time.
For a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I was planning